I always thought I had a good marriage until I found the hotel receipt. Not just any hotel, the kind of place where a night's stay costs more than our monthly mortgage payment. The charge sat there on our joint account statement, mocking me with its four-figure sum and a date that coincided perfectly with Reed's business trip to Chicago last month. My name is Mallory, and until 10 minutes ago, I was mindlessly reviewing our monthly expenses while my son Finn practiced piano in the living room. Now my hands are shaking so badly I can barely hold my phone. Mom, can I stop now? I've been playing for forever. Finn called out, the notes of his practice piece trailing off. Just 5 more minutes, honey, I managed to say, my voice steadier than I felt. I needed those 5 minutes to pull myself together before Reed got home. The front door opened right then, because timing has always had a sick sense of humor. Reed walked in, loosening his tie, briefcase in hand. He smiled at Finn, ruffled his hair, and headed toward me in the kitchen. Everything about him looked exactly the same. His perfectly pressed suit, his confident stride, his easy smile. How could he look so normal when everything felt so wrong? Hey, he said, dropping his briefcase by the counter. What's for dinner? I stared at my screen, then at him. The Four Seasons Chicago, I said quietly. Last month. Care to explain? His face didn't change, not really, but something flickered in his eyes. He reached for a glass from the cabinet, filling it with water. It was a last-minute booking when my original hotel had plumbing issues. I forgot to mention it. The lie slid out so smoothly. I almost wanted to believe it. Almost. Funny, I said, scrolling through the statement. Because there's also a charge here for a spa treatment. And room service for two. Reed took a long drink of water, his throat working as he swallowed. In the living room, Finn had started playing again, the melancholy notes of his piano piece creating an oddly fitting soundtrack to this moment. We should talk about this later, Reed said quietly, his eyes flicking toward the living room. Later, I agreed, but my stomach was already nodding with the certainty that later would bring more lies, more excuses, more carefully constructed stories that would make me question my own sanity. I watched him walk away, up the stairs to change, and wondered how many other receipts I'd find if I kept digging. How many other perfect lies he'd tell. How many later conversations it would take before our marriage crumbled completely. That later conversation never happened. Instead, Reed started working late more often, leaving early in the mornings before Finn and I were up. When he was home, he barely looked at his phone, keeping it face down and taking calls in his home office. Classic guilty behavior. I should know. I'd spent the last week Googling signs your spouse is cheating like it was my new hobby. The worst part wasn't the suspicion or the lies. It was watching Finn notice the change in our home, like watching a flower slowly wilt. This morning, he didn't even touch his breakfast, just pushed his eggs around his plate while Reed typed away on his phone. Dad, are we still going camping next weekend? Finn asked, his voice smaller than usual. Reed glanced up, distracted. Oh, buddy, I forgot to tell you. I have to go to Boston for work. Maybe next month. I watched Finn's shoulders slump. They'd been planning this trip for months. Finn had even made a list of supplies on his phone. You promised, Finn said, but Reed was already standing up, grabbing his briefcase. We'll make it up, okay? I've got to run. He kissed the top of Finn's head, nodded at me, and was gone before either of us could say another word. Finn dumped his plate in the sink with more force than necessary. Whatever. I'm going to Jake's after school. Finn, wait. But he was already halfway up the stairs, leaving me alone in our suddenly too quiet kitchen. I pulled out my phone, thumbing through our joint account again. There it was, another charge I hadn't noticed before. A jewelry store in Chicago, same weekend as the hotel. My stomach churned. Reed had never bought me jewelry in all our years together. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother, coming over for dinner tonight. No arguments. Bringing lasagna. Mom had always had a sixth sense for when things were falling apart. I started to type a response, but another notification popped up, an email from Finn's school. His math grade had dropped from an A to a C in the past month. I closed my eyes, remembering how Reed used to help him with math homework every night. When was the last time that had happened? When was the last time we'd all sat down for a proper family dinner? The house felt like it was full of ghosts, memories of what we used to be, haunting every room. And I was starting to realize that maybe the scariest part wasn't finding out the truth about Reed. Maybe it was watching our family crumble, one missed camping trip, one cold dinner, one dropped grade at a time. The email arrived while I was making dinner. No subject line, just an attachment. I almost deleted it as spam until I noticed the first line. I think you should know what your husband's really doing in Chicago. My hands shook as I opened the attached photos. The first showed Reed entering an upscale restaurant, his arm around a woman with long dark hair and the kind of confidence that comes with old money. The second caught them leaving the Four Seasons, the same hotel from the credit card statement. The third. I closed that one quickly, my stomach lurching. Mom was still setting the table, chattering about her garden club drama. She stopped mid-sentence when she saw my face. Mallory? What's wrong? I handed her my phone. Her sharp intake of breath said everything. There's more, I said, scrolling through the email. Her name is Bianca Lawson. She's some sort of investment banker. 32 years old. Each detail felt like another knife twist. That son of a mom started, but the front door opened. Reed walked in, followed by Finn. They were laughing about something, looking more relaxed than I'd seen them in weeks. The sound felt like sandpaper on my raw nerves. Hey, something smells good, Reed said, then noticed Mom. Oh, Irene. Didn't know you were joining us. Clearly there's a lot you don't share these days, Mom muttered. Finn glanced between us, picking up on the tension. I'm gonna start my homework. Actually, stay, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Your father has something to explain to all of us. Reed's smile faltered. Mallory, what? I held up my phone, displaying the restaurant photo. How long? The color drained from his face. Finn moved closer, peering at the screen. Dad? Who's that? It's not what you think, Reed started, but I cut him off. Don't you dare lie again. I turned to Finn. Your father's been seeing this woman behind our backs. That's why he canceled your camping trip. That's why he's never home anymore. Mallory, stop. Reed stepped forward. We don't need to do this now. When then, Reed? When were you planning to tell us about Bianca? About the hotel rooms and the jewelry and the fancy restaurants? Finn backed away from both of us, his face crumpling. Is that true, Dad? Reed's silence was answer enough. Finn turned and ran upstairs, his door slamming seconds later. Well, Mom said into the horrible quiet, I think I'll take my lasagna and go. Unless you'd like me to stay and help hide the body, sweetheart. I almost laughed, but it came out as more of a sob. Because the worst part wasn't the photos, or even Reed's guilty face. It was realizing that I'd just done exactly what I'd promised myself I wouldn't do. I dragged Finn right into the middle of our mess. Dr. Helen Morse's office felt too warm, like everything else these days. She sat across from me, her reading glasses perched on her nose, reviewing the photos I'd received. And you're certain you want to pursue legal action? She asked, setting down her tablet. I found the prenup last night, I said, picking at a loose thread on my sleeve. If I can prove infidelity, I get primary custody of Finn and half of everything, including his precious company shares. Is that what you really want, Mallory? Or are you just hurting? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Finn. Can I stay at Dad's new place this weekend? He's taking me to the Lakers game with Bianca. My fingers trembled as I showed Dr. Morse the message. He's already moved in with her. It's been 2 weeks since he left, and suddenly she's playing stepmom. What concerns you more, Bianca's presence or Finn's enthusiasm about it? The question hit like a slap. I remembered Finn's face last weekend when he came home wearing a designer hoodie I could never afford. The way his eyes lit up talking about Bianca's penthouse and its rooftop pool. I'm losing him, I whispered. Reed's buying his love with expensive gifts and fancy trips, and I'm just here, trying to keep our normal life going. Maybe it's not about winning or losing, Dr. Morse suggested. What if? My phone buzzed again. An email from work. I opened it and felt the blood drain from my face. Mallory. Reed's company is merging with Bianca's investment firm, I said, scanning the announcement. She's becoming a major shareholder. They've been planning this for months. The pieces clicked together. The business trips, the meetings, the late nights. This wasn't just an affair. It was a corporate takeover. And how does that change things for you? I thought about the prenup, about revenge. about Finn's growing admiration for his father's glamorous new life. Then I thought about what exposing their relationship would do to Reed's company, to our family's financial security, to Finn's future. If I go public with the affair now, it could tank the merger, I said slowly. Reed would lose everything. But so would Finn's college fund. Our savings. Our home. Dr. Morse leaned forward. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying someone else. Sometimes it's about rebuilding yourself. I stared at Finn's text again, my thumb hovering over the reply button. The Lakers game would make him happy. But every smile, every moment of joy would be orchestrated by the woman who helped destroy our family. What kind of mother am I asked, if I can't even compete with courtside seats? Finn burst through the front door like a hurricane, designer backpack slung over one shoulder, wearing clothes I'd never seen before. The weekend with Reed and Bianca had transformed my son into someone I barely recognized. Mom, you should see Bianca's place. There's this huge terrace with a view of the whole city, and she's got this gaming room with. Did you finish your history project? I interrupted, trying to keep my voice steady. It's due tomorrow. He waved dismissively. Already done. Bianca helped me. She used to teach at Columbia, you know. Of course she did. Perfect. Brilliant Bianca with her perfect penthouse and perfect life. I gripped the kitchen counter, knuckles white. Oh, and Dad said I could spend next weekend there too. They're having this charity gala thing, and Bianca got me a suit. No, I said, the words sharp enough to make him stop mid-sentence. What? You're not going. You have your band concert next weekend, remember? The one you've been practicing for all semester. Finn's face darkened. That's just a stupid school thing. The gala's way more important. More important than your music? You love playing. Yeah, when I was a kid. He pulled out his phone, another new one, I noticed. I'll text Dad and tell him you're being difficult again. Difficult? The word hit like a slap. Is that what they're calling it now? Being a parent who actually cares about. At least they care about what I want. Finn shouted. All you do is try to keep everything the same. Like if you pretend hard enough, Dad will come back and everything will be normal again. But it won't. My phone buzzed. Reed, let him come to the gala. Stop making this harder than it needs to be. Another message followed. A photo of Finn at the Lakers game, sandwiched between Reed and Bianca. All three beaming at the camera like a perfect family. The family I couldn't give him anymore. Fine, I whispered, the fight draining out of me. Go to your gala. Finn's face lit up. Really? Thanks, Mom. He bounded upstairs, leaving me alone with the ghost of who he used to be. I opened my laptop, pulling up the emails I'd been gathering, proof of Reed and Bianca's relationship predating the merger announcement. Documentation of their secret meetings, everything I needed to blow their perfect world apart. My finger hovered over the send to legal button. One click and I could destroy them both. But Finn's words echoed in my head. At least they care about what I want. Was I fighting to protect my son, or was I just afraid of losing the last piece of my old life I had left? The charity gala looked exactly like I imagined, all crystal chandeliers and champagne flutes. With Bianca holding court in a designer gown that probably cost more than my car. I hadn't planned to come, but Mom insisted. Show them you're not beaten, she'd said, helping me into my best dress. I spotted Finn across the room, looking uncomfortable in his new suit. When he saw me, he actually ducked behind a column. Quite the party, a familiar voice said. Reed appeared beside me, whiskey in hand. Didn't expect to see you here. I work for the company too, remember? Or are you planning to change that after the merger? His face hardened. You know, Mallory, if you just try to be reasonable about all this. Reasonable? I laughed too loud. Several heads turned. Like how you were reasonable about destroying our family? Mom, stop it. Finn materialized between us, his face flushed with embarrassment. You're making a scene. Listen to your son, Reed said quietly. This isn't the place. When is the place, Reed? When you're signing away half my son's college fund to your girlfriend's company. Bianca glided over, placing a manicured hand on Reed's arm. Is everything all right here? It's fine, Finn said quickly. Mom was just leaving. The words hit like a physical blow. I looked at my son, my baby who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms, standing there in his expensive suit, choosing them over me. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone, I think I'll stay. In fact, I have something everyone might find interesting. My finger hovered over the email containing all their dirty secrets, ready to be sent to the board of directors. Mallory, Reed warned, but Finn's voice cut through. If you do this, I'll never forgive you. I froze. Finn's eyes were wet with tears, but his jaw was set. Please, Mom. Just go home. The room seemed to spin. Through the blur, I saw Bianca's triumphant smile, Reed's concerned frown, and worst of all, Finn's pleading eyes. I deleted the draft. You win, I whispered, not sure who I was talking to anymore. He's yours. I turned and walked out, past the whispers and stares, past the valet stand where Reed's new Tesla sat next to Bianca's Porsche, past everything I'd lost and couldn't seem to fight for anymore. In my car, I pulled out my phone one last time. Dr. Morse had given me her emergency number months ago. I'd never used it. Helen. My voice cracked. I need help. I don't know how to let go. Behind me, the gala continued, music and laughter spilling out into the night, while I sat alone in my car, finally understanding that sometimes winning means knowing when to walk away. The news broke on a Tuesday morning. Reed's company stocks were in free fall, and rumors of financial misconduct were everywhere. I watched from my office as people whispered and pointed at their screens, wondering if I should feel satisfied. Instead, I just felt hollow. My phone lit up with Finn's name. Mom? Are you watching the news? I am, honey. My first call from him in weeks, and it had to be about this. Dad's not answering his phone. Bianca's not either. I don't know what to do. The fear in his voice made my chest tight. Where are you? At school. But everyone's talking about it. They're saying Dad might go to jail. I grabbed my keys. Stay there. I'm coming to get you. I found Reed in Bianca's penthouse, sitting alone in the dark. The place had been stripped bare, artwork gone, furniture missing, even the fancy coffee maker vanished from the kitchen counter. She played me, he said without looking up. The merger, the relationship, all of it. She needed inside access to manipulate the stock prices. And I gave it to her, gift wrapped with a bow. Where is she? Gone. Private jet to somewhere without extradition. Took everything, including what was left of my savings. He laughed bitterly. Guess karma's real after all. Dad. We both turned. Finn stood in the doorway, looking smaller than his 13 years. I got him from school, I explained. He was worried. Reed's face crumpled. Finn, I'm so sorry. I've ruined everything. That's not true, I heard myself say. Both of them looked at me in surprise. The SEC investigation will show you were manipulated. I've already sent them documentation proving Bianca's long-term scheme. You what? Reed stood up. But the evidence you had against me. The affair, the merger. I kept copies of everything, including proof that you were an unwitting participant in her fraud. I met his eyes. You're a lot of things, Reed, but you're not a criminal. And you're still Finn's father. Finn moved then, crossing the room to hug his father. Over his head, Reed mouthed, "Thank you." I turned to leave, but Finn's voice stopped me. Mom? Can we both come home? Just for tonight. I looked at my son holding on to his broken father and thought about revenge, about justice, about the thin line between winning and losing, about how sometimes the best revenge isn't getting even, but getting better. Yes, I said softly. You can come home. 1 year later, I sat in the bleachers watching Finn's band concert. He'd stuck with music after all, even joined jazz band. Reed sat 2 rows ahead, applauding enthusiastically after each piece. We weren't friends exactly, but we'd found a kind of peace in our new roles as co-parents. The SEC investigation had cleared Reed of criminal charges, though his reputation took a hit. He'd started over at a smaller firm, living in a modest apartment instead of Bianca's penthouse. Sometimes I caught him looking at Finn with a mix of guilt and gratitude, like he couldn't believe he'd almost thrown this away for someone who'd never really loved him. That was awesome. Finn bounded over after the concert, trumpet case in hand. Did you hear my solo? Couldn't miss it, Reed said, pulling him into a hug. You were the best one up there. Mom. Finn turned to me. Is it okay if I go to Dad's tonight? He's helping me with my science project. Of course. I smiled, remembering a time when such requests would have felt like daggers to my heart. Just don't forget we're meeting Grant and Emily for lunch tomorrow. Finn nodded, then surprised me with a quick hug. Thanks for making me stick with band, he whispered. As I watched them leave, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Bianca had been spotted in Monaco, living under an alias. Part of me still wanted to make sure she faced justice, but I'd learned that revenge wasn't always about punishment. Sometimes it was about building something better from the ruins. Ready to go? Grant appeared beside me, baby Emily dozing in her carrier. My new family, unexpected and precious. Almost. I pulled out my phone one last time, opening the draft email I'd kept all this time, the one with all the evidence against Reed and Bianca. My finger hovered over the delete button. Still holding on to that? Grant asked softly. Just in case, I said, but we both knew I'd never use it. The email wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about choice, choosing every day to let go, to move forward, to build rather than destroy. I deleted the draft. Outside, Reed and Finn were loading the trumpet into Reed's new used car, a far cry from his Tesla days. Finn waved as they drove past, and I waved back, thinking about how life rarely gives us the endings we expect. Sometimes it gives us better ones. Let's go home, I said to Grant, taking Emily from him. She stirred, reaching up to grab my necklace with perfect baby fingers. My daughter would never know the woman I'd been a year ago, consumed by revenge and loss. But maybe that was okay. Sometimes the best revenge is living well, loving deeply, and knowing when to let go.